Well, welcome to you both to the OES Centre for World Mental Health Day. So we have been given the lovely task of talking about taking notice and how important that is, but especially about how our creativity can help us take notice of the world around us and to connect with it. Now, I'm a real geek when it comes to these things, so I always look up a definition. I love a literal definition of a word because I think it just helps to remind us of the word's true meaning and essence. So I looked up notice, and it says to see or become conscious of something or someone. To notice that a particular thing or person exists or is present. Okay, so I guess we all connect with it in different ways, but Shannon, let's start with you. As a singer and a songwriter of Sister Ghost, how do you think that, because it seems like from very early age you used songwriting as a technique or to communicate and to inform how you experienced different things. Is that, how did you use that as a tool to take notice of the world?
I think just literally like using songwriting as the means of expression. Like that was kind of from a young age, the kind of easiest, most comfortable way for me to express myself. Like I could be found running about the house just like singing wee songs just about my day or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was the earliest form of, like, I don't know, could you call that songwriting maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was expressing myself through that, and then the older I got and the more like life experiences I've had, and just getting to know myself as well and like who I am, that has then formed my songwriting, and I guess it's just taking notice of myself has informed my songwriting in the more recent kind of years.
And I think when we say to take notice, we immediately maybe think of things outside of ourselves, but obviously that is about cultivating an awareness of yourself and how you're feeling, what you're going through. Because going through some of your songs and listening to the lyrics, sometimes it sounds like they're quite difficult experiences, but writing them down obviously helps from a mental health point of view as well. Would you agree? Or
absolutely, like songwriting for me and being a musician and playing music and like standing on this stage and so many others is such a cathartic experience. It is therapy for me. Like that's something that I have accepted and embraced as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, brilliant. John, with you, it was photography really. Like you've been very open about your mental health and about your experience of depression, but why was it that you picked up a camera? Like, what was it about that helped you to take notice?
Well, to sum it up, I try to sum it up as the beauty on our doorstep. And as I was going through the mental health problems, I didn't see the beauty around me. I didn't hear the birds singing. I didn't see the sunsets. I didn't see the flowers growing and the beautiful views. So as I started to open up about my mental health, which wasn't an easy thing to do, but I found that I started noticing things more. I started concentrating around me. When I was going out for walks, I could hear birds singing. I could see beautiful views in front of me. So that's when I decided to pick up a camera. Didn't realise that my pictures were going to end up all over the world and in many important buildings and stuff like that there. But the photography has taken me in so many different directions.
Yeah.
So there's like 3 different branches. And the good thing is my photography now has been used to help other people. Because people have picked up our ears. I was nominated for the Spirit of Northern Ireland Award. So I've been on TV a lot, radio a lot. U105, I'm John the Picture Man. If anybody stops me and says this to me, you're John the Picture Man, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's all that. So it's taken me down many journeys, but I love it when someone comes in to me, and it happens all the time. Is a lot of men, not just men, but and women, but they'll come in and they'll start talking to me about the pictures.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they'll say, "Can I tell you something?" And I go, "Yeah, go ahead." I'm suffering.
Yeah.
And I go, "Well, I'm glad to meet you. I'm glad you're here now." So then I would signpost them that they need to go.
Yeah.
Some of them have got themselves cameras now. I've been out to places with people who have taken them out to places.
Yeah.
They're now taken doing their own photography. they're not sitting in a dark place.
Yes.
They're out enjoying the
Well, they're outside, because when I look at your photos, John, there's an obvious connection to nature. You know, a lot of the time it's on a beach, or it's a bird or something, you know, a particular part. What is it about that? You seem drawn into taking photographs in that environment.
I just love that environment because, you know, but you don't have to leave your front garden to find beauty. You know, you could look out a window, you could think, you know, but stories, and that's why the book's going to come about.
Yeah.
Every picture tells a story, and it'll be about mental health, you know, because we hate it, right? But it'll also be a lot of the stories that came from the pictures.
Yeah.
One man who's in his 90s was looking at this picture one day. I took off St. Peter's, and it's a lovely sunny day, beautiful sky. And this man is standing looking at the picture, and there's a tree in the picture, and I would always ask people, do you know where the tree is? And he looked at me and he says, no, I don't know where a tree is. He says, but I'm going to tell you something. And he says, yes, go ahead. Call him Jim McMacken. And he pointed to the vents on the lower roof, and he says, I put them on when I was 16 years old. He's 91 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the two crosses on the top of the spires, he says, my father Eddie put them on. So that is the picture telling the story.
Well, this thing, and I think we can walk past these things every day, like you're saying about, you know, that cross on the top of a tower, that, you know, I lived in London for a long time, and I would, you know, go from home to work and not notice some of the amazing architecture, you know, just around me. And so I remember somebody saying, do you never look up? And you don't. Yeah, like people in London don't. There's millions of people that live there, and often you're just, and a lot of the time people are on their phones now. So you tell them a story like that, you don't think about the person that was up there putting that cross on the top of the roof, probably before we had scaffolding. You know what I mean? And the achievement of that. So, and I think, well, I worry people maybe think they have to have a really posh camera now, John, to go out and do this. Do you know what I mean? That people don't want to do something unless they can really do it well. You know, they're maybe scared of going out there just with their camera phone and focusing on things in their garden, or going on that walk and just taking pictures because they want to. And what would you say to people that maybe were...
When I park my car, I get out, and obviously you notice it's a beautiful world, and you notice the change in the buildings because there's a lot of work going on around the city, and even a time like this. So I noticed these flowers, and I started taking a couple of wee photographs on my phone, and then I looked up to my right, and there's this old man sitting with a wee simmer frame, and there's about 200 pigeons around him on top of the simmer frame. And I walked around, and I said to him, do you mind if I take your picture? And he says, yeah, go ahead. And it was such a beautiful, and I posted it on Facebook, to say I took this picture. Thought it was a beautiful sight, especially in the times where we are now.
Yeah.
And people were all smiley faces, and that wee picture will probably brighten up a lot of people's days. You know? Yeah. I think that's what pictures kind of remind us of, a moment that beautiful
that can easily be lost.
Well, whenever I was going through what I was going through, you know. But when I look at pictures now, I've got 10 grandchildren. I would never have met any of them grandchildren the day I got into the car to go and end my life. You know, I didn't envisage anything like this. But I have photographs that me giving my daughter away in her marriage.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, things like that wouldn't happen. Where I look at them things now and go, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have these.
Absolutely.
You know, I constantly take pictures of my children. You know, constantly. And one of them said to me one day, Daddy, can we get the pictures out of the road? And I went, what do you mean? I know, but you're taking pictures of us. It's not our real fun. You know, you have us jumping off sand dunes and climbing trees. I know. I said, that's good, isn't it? And they went, but now they're coming back to me and asking me, can we care? Where's them photographs?
I know they really appreciate the memories that you've caught.
It's memories. It's all memories.
I think obviously with what everybody's been going through these last few months, there's been a disconnection with the world around us. Sometimes it's actually easier to switch off, you know, and to get quite insular. But it's changed for me recently because my daughter was born about 7 weeks ago, so she's very, very young. So, and I'm now seeing the world very differently because I'm experiencing it nearly through her. So just, you know, the simple act of going for a walk the other day, she was in the pram and she was going to sleep, she'd just fallen asleep. And we were just going around the block really, but I was suddenly aware of every single sound. That the guy that was, you know, using the strimmer in his garden, I was thinking, is that too loud? Is she going to hear that? Or the seagulls? I was like, can she hear the seagulls? You know, it was a totally new sensory experience for me because I was kind of viewing it through her, you know what I mean? If I'd just gone on that walk myself, I'm not sure I would have heard all those things, and the kind of, those guys re-tarmacking the road and the smell of the tar. I was like, oh gosh, you know, I turned the pram around and started going down the other way because I thought maybe that's too much, maybe that is too intense. But
Can I make a suggestion? But see the photographs you're taking and see all the things, put them into your book.
Yeah.
You can buy these wee books down and you can put the images into the book. You know, you probably always, with your partner, was expecting a child and all that, because it's all gradual. It's all,
somebody did actually buy us a photo of, and I thought that was a really lovely thing to do, because we don't do that anymore. We don't print off photos and just stick them in a book.
You can buy wee books now where the actual photograph goes in the book.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all different stages.
Yeah.
It's just there. You know, I have shoe boxes and shoe boxes and shoe boxes full
of a record.
Pictures.
I actually started at the start of lockdown. I have, do you know the wee Instamatic, the wee Instax one?
Yeah.
And I started at the start of lockdown, so back, I think the first one I took was like the 16th of March. And I have like a wee Instax now for like all these different like moments that have happened over the past 7 months, and I do feel like those are wee treasures, like that is a wee capture, you know, of that moment in time.
Yeah.
So,
Has that changed for you, Shannon, how you, I mean, are you still writing songs over these last few months? Is the way you're engaging with the world and the things you're noticing, has that shifted, and have you noticed that change in the material and stuff that you're writing?
I've actually found the past 6 months like a really fruitful time for writing, and I think it's because for the first time in a long time I've been able to have the time to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
Like I prior to just whenever lockdown was starting, I was still living here in Belfast, like but then I had to, you know, I lost my work, I moved back with my parents, and it's only in, you know, the recent couple of weeks that I've been able to get myself, you know, a place in Derry and to feel like an adult again and have that space. But in that interim time, having like the attic back home in the country, like that was my wee writing space. And so like me and Maeve have like started an album, and like that wouldn't have happened.
No.
So there has been like a positive to, you know, the lockdown and the sort of insular.
Because I think because the world can be distracting, and often you don't get your schedule right for 6 months, you know, and it's. I think I was chatting to somebody about this the other day, because I was saying exactly the same thing. You know, I've been writing arts applications, and I've started writing a piece myself that, as an actor before, I never probably would have done. I never would have sat down and done that. And I was saying to this director friend of mine that actually it's been quite a, you know, nearly whispering, it's actually been quite good for me. And he said, like, don't feel guilty. I keep talking to artists that are saying, actually, I've really learnt a lot about myself from this experience, because I think obviously it has been very difficult, and it hasn't been good the whole time. It's a real roller coaster, but I think it's really beneficial to kind of go, well, actually, I made a little list the other day of all the things that I've managed to do that we can take from the time. But I guess it's about how can we encourage people to notice things in a really simple way, you know.
Stop and look around you.
Yeah.
And listen. You know, one of the things at the minute I don't do is I don't watch the news.
Yeah, same.
I watch the last 15 minutes, because that's usually when your good stuff comes on, you know. And I have a lot of people who are reporters who are good friends, you know, but I try and stay away from the negativity. Stay away from, you know, too much of it going on. There's what's going on around the world and all that kind of stuff, you know. We all have to be aware of what's going on around us, but at the same time, you know, try and avoid the negativity.
Yeah.
It just at the start of a day, if you're going to watch all that negativity, and then you're going to be in a bad mood.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it's going to take something to lift you. Maybe go for a walk.
Yeah, you were saying yesterday that you ended up getting up early, and
I get up at 5 every morning. Don't need an alarm clock. It's like thump.
Yeah.
And go down and make myself a cup of tea. Put the radio on. Put a bit of music on in the background. Maybe put the computer on. Fiddle about with a few images.
Yeah.
Stuff like that there. Yesterday, flask, Sammy's, what do you call it? Down to Murlock. Walked along Murlock, got myself into a lovely wee spot.
Yeah.
Looking over at St John's Point, and the sun starts coming up, and the clouds and the rays were coming through.
Yeah.
It's like the heavens opening up, and the morns it's all dark, and then at the top you just see the light
coming through.
It starts coming down, and it gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter.
And it's about finding what your thing is. Obviously, John, for you, I mean, you're very passionate about photography. Again, I can just listen to you now. It makes me want to go out and grab my camera and go out. But I think it's, and I hope people have had that opportunity in these last few months to start to engage with their creativity, you know, and how important. Because I think we have this thing where, you know, creativity isn't perfect. You don't have. There's no perfect painting or perfect song, or, you know, people maybe are discouraged from just picking up a pencil and drawing, or, you know. But it can be those simple acts of creativity that really help you notice things.
Yeah.
There was a man I met called Jason Boland. Jason Boland, have you ever watched Wolverine, Mad Max?
Yeah.
All the latest top films, the latest James Bond film, which hasn't been released. Well, Jason was the stills photographer in all these films. World-renowned photographer, famous guy. And I'm doing security on the film set. This guy standing at a wee gate doing security, and obviously when I knew Jason was a photographer, I kind of wanted to go away to meet him. And the two of us got chatting, and he says to me, "Show me your work." So I'm going, "Show me your work." This man's a world-renowned photographer. And I says, "Right, okay, here's me here, have a look at that." And here he was. "Follow your dream." And I did.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a man who's thing there, you know. And we're in contact all the time, we're in contact, and he has supported me over the years, and he has said to me, you know, he calls me buddy, you know, Australian buddy.
Yeah.
You know, and he wants to do an interview with me on YouTube. That is what he's doing, because he's on lockdown.
Yeah.
He can't get out and do what he does.
Yeah.
So he has decided to set up a YouTube thing and talk to all these different, what he would call famous photographers around the world.
Yeah.
And he wants to talk to me, you know, because he sees what I'm doing. With
Brilliant.
him, you know, so it's thing.
Yeah.
And like our good friends saying about sitting probably now, putting good music together, and because your music's always probably been brilliant, but you're probably thinking more about it now and putting more into it, you know, where when we weren't on lockdown, we were moving about,
distracted,
doing all these different things.
Yeah.
Spending enough hours.
Sometimes you find like there is a thing where like you're not getting as much experiences or inspiration too, because you're just in the one place, or you're seeing the same people all the time.
Yeah.
So I find myself reading more books and watching more films and like delving into different arts and culture that I had before, trying to get that inspiration as well.
Yeah, it's about kind of re-engaging your brain in that way of thinking as well. The isolation can be a hindrance as well as a benefit. Is there other parts of your creativity that have, other than songwriting, that you've kind of indulged or have shifted or changed?
I'm not too sure. I think because my songwriting is so personal as well. Like, but I have been kind of trying to stop writing so much about like the past and just being like try and write something more that's like experimental. I've tried to be more experimental with my songwriting, and it has paid off. Like just sort of the trust in yourself. It's like what you're saying about like photographers who are like just starting. Like don't be afraid to just, you know, like there's not really anything as mistakes. Like mistakes is a concept.
It is, yeah.
You can't. If it depends how you define a mistake or whatever. So in terms of songwriting, it's just like just allow yourself to have a go and see what happens.
Yeah.
And like that is, I find that's been really helpful.
And I think we should stress that you don't have to share it. You know, it can literally just be for yourself. I think there's this sense that obviously with social media and things, we can share things so easily, but we don't have to. Actually, if it's just about you engaging with the world and connecting with it, it can be for yourself. It can be photographs that you stick in a book, or little stories that you keep for yourself, you know, that you write. Or
I have failed more times with photography than I have succeeded.
Yeah.
But you know something, life's a lesson. And for me, you know, I go to this place and you're driving, this looks great, this is going to be great, and then you get there and these big dark clouds or something comes over. You know, this one particular shot, I went 10 times, it was an hour's drive, 10 times back to this place until I got
the shot
that I wanted. You know, it was like, will I get it today, or will I not get it today, or will I think, you know, but I persevered. You know, I persevered. Where I wouldn't have probably did things like that in the past. You know, I said, when I'm happy, that's when it'll, you know, and as you say, sometimes the camera plays you up, sometimes the light plays you up, sometimes, but it's all a lesson. You know, it's the end of the day, if you go back and you turn it, like I make up all these wee sounds in my head, and then I would go, that sounds good, that sounds right. And I send myself a text message. I send it to my phone as a text message, and then I forget about it. And then I'm going through my phone and I go, what's that about?
This could be lyrics, you could be writing songs.
You know, where did that come from? You know,
A
stuff
friend of
like
mine's done that and wrote an email to herself to receive a year from the date that she writes it, which I think is a really...
Oh my God, she schedules it.
Yeah, so she schedules an email, and obviously you maybe forget about it, and then the email comes from yourself a year later, and you kind of, you know, it can be, you were doing this, remember, and you were struggling with that, but now you're probably doing, you know, it's kind of...
Even though I was a really bit late today, and it was probably because I was taking the photographs, I actually have my phone set 10 minutes faster than what it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't like being late. Things, you know, and I would sort of, but it's me constantly, you know, if I want to watch something on the TV or if I want to do something, you know, okay, I've got a wee bit of time. So, but it's stuff like that, you know, it's planning ahead. It's planning ahead. And not beating yourself up about it and saying, so I'll get it wrong. So,
it doesn't matter. Have you found that with writing songs? Are there songs that never got written, or, you know, lyrics that lingered in a book and never made it into the...
Oh God, I have like 20 plus notebooks.
Oh, really?
And it's funny that we're talking about your friend sending that email a year later. I actually found some of my diaries from like this time last year or even further than that, and it's so funny reading it back because the things that like meant so much to you or had you like so upset at the time, then you look back and you're like, I was like strong to get through that, or like look at what happens when you do kind of just persevere. And
I'm similar. I've kept a journal for about 10 years. I graduated drama school and I started keeping this journal, and I noticed actually kind of mental health patterns in it, and you know, we talk about noticing things. That was my way of noticing how I reacted to things, how maybe I was struggling in additions when I walked into the room and it was kind of a bag of nerves and kind of what I was thinking and what was going through my head, and it was just a physical way of getting that down on paper and actually going back, you know, oh, here last month I was feeling a bit like the same thing was coming up again, I need to work on that, or I need to unpack that a bit more. So I think there's really simple ways of noticing that people don't realise it's not a complicated thing to do.
When I'm trying to encourage people about photography, because I see they have an interest.
Yeah.
You know, I would say maybe join a camera club. I'm in Westcourt Camera Club. We do a lot of projects around the homeless and different things. A lot of camera clubs haven't done this, but we started doing it. Some of our photography is went all around England now. So it is, and it's photographs of the homeless and all the different strands of how it comes about. You know, someone homeless doesn't mean it's always someone is lying in an entryway. It could be somebody lying on a sofa with a couple of bags lying beside. Someone letting them stay on a sofa and stuff like that. My own daughter ended up homeless. They were renting a house for 7 years. And the guy just walked in one day and says, look, you have a month to move out, I'm selling the house. And she wasn't on any housing executive or anything registered. So she ended up, I says, there's the keys to my house, go and stay in my house. You know, they eventually ended up having to go and stay in a hostel so they could get themselves housed. You know, so there's always different things, but it's how you can sort of help yourself and help other people. You know?
And those simple acts of noticing can elevate people's experience, or you know, what we're seeing now with social media and you know, a photograph, for instance, can draw attention to, you know, Black Lives Matter movement, or you know, all these different things. As a photograph, especially.
Be creative. You know, you be creative. There's different times I would take, like a parade. You know, I have a picture I took at the parade like 6 years ago, and it's just, you've got the Albert clock, but this guy got these two big, massive parade flags, and he put them on a pole, and he's carrying it. So he is. And all you can see is these two big massive parade flags going towards the Albert clock. It's been on T-shirts, it's been on slates, it's been on in many frames. So it is, and it's just Belfast Parade. You know, that's simple. You know, don't complicate things if you don't have to.
No, and I think music can do that as well. It can elevate an experience. You know, where people connect with the song, where you just hear it in the lyrics and you're like, I totally get that. Totally understand that experience.
You know, the book, when I get round to doing the book, which is hopefully going to be soon, I'm going to make a start on it, and I say every picture tells a story, and it's going to be around mental health, you know, and sort of taking the steps and taking the thing. A lot of the stories, this lady one day was looking at the photograph of Queensbridge. Next thing I look, she's tears running down her face. Are you okay? She says, see that picture? I walked over that bridge for 40 years on my way to work and never took a day off. I have to have that picture.
Mm.
And that's,
Yeah.
it just brought all this memories.
Yeah,
back.
and you don't know
She's
what
just
that's going
retired,
to mean. Yeah.
and stuff like that there, you know. So there's all them wee stories which will
Yeah.
come and all the different things. You
Yeah.
don't see the beauty. That's the problem. You know, and some of the images will be the inside of flowers. You know, I recently got this award it's an Irish award for photography. It's not an easy thing to get.
Uh-huh.
But the next stage will be, my next one will be photographs of flowers.
Uh-huh.
But it's going to be the inside of the flowers.
Yeah.
The hidden beauty, the beauty we don't see.
Yeah.
And it's going to be based around mental health.
I love that.
You walk past something, you don't see the beauty. If you actually stop and have a look at it properly,
Yeah. It's there.
it's there.
I had a really simple act of noticing the other day. So I hadn't been out for a coffee in like 6 months, and it was something I appreciated every week. And I was outside, and I literally, that moment of tasting coffee made properly, you know, not in my own house where I kind of butchered it, was a really simple act of noticing, and something that I will probably never take for granted again, because we've lost those things that we all took for granted in a way.
I had like a kind of emotional moment going to the cinema for the first time in 6 months as well, because I worked in the QFT, the Queen's Film Theatre, for 4 years, and film is like a love of mine. It's like my second favourite love after music, and like just being in the cinema, just walking through, even though it's quite eerie, like the lobby was empty and all, and just like looking at the posters and all, and sort of breathed it in. I was like, wow, like it's the
smell of popcorn had never been so good.
My fingers sticking to the floor. It's been such a long time. But it was just that kind of meditative moment of just being like, wow, this is like something that I took for granted.
Like a chair getting into the swing park, and into the thing, you know.
You see it again for the first time, almost.
It's a guy who said that when I try to get people into photography, they go, I couldn't do photography. I wouldn't be good enough for that. And I go, well, think about it. I've never done a camera course in my life. Never done a course. I said, but my pictures are all over the world. I says, see if you join a golf club and the guy beside you has the dearest golf clubs that money can buy, doesn't make him a great golfer.
Yeah.
It's about what you put into it and what you get out of it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't suit you, then don't do it. Find something else that might. I always develop your coping skills.
Yeah.
Something there that makes you happy, that makes you want to do. Whether it's going out for walks, whether it's buying a guitar, or it's something simple. Just doing this simple thing. If it gets you through your day, then.
And it can be absolutely free. You know, you don't have to.
The guys that I've got, and the ladies, they're now going out taking their own pictures. You know, they were coming out with me, but I brought them to places where I knew they would get nice photographs.
Yeah.
And they probably weren't as enthusiastic, but you see when they see the image on the screen, beam.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hold on here. And now they're going out themselves and doing it.
Yeah.
You know, they used to ring me, when are you going out again, when are you going out again? You know, I have to be honest, I enjoy my own company at times, you know.
Yeah.
But they're away now doing it themselves.
Yeah.
And they post pictures.
Yeah.
They post pictures all over.
I worry that people maybe, you know, because we're talking about creativity and how that can be a real source of helping us to take notice, but you know, maybe people don't feel particularly creative, or maybe they're in a job that actually they don't enjoy. How do we encourage people to kind of tap into that creativity? Because I don't want people to think they have to sign up for a course, or that they have to have a degree in something to do this, and not necessarily on your own either. You know, if you can do it in a safe and socially distant way at the minute, is there somebody you could buddy up with? I mean, how do we encourage people to?
I think poetry. I think that's like a nice thing to start off.
Yeah.
Like just buy yourself like a wee notepad and a pen, and maybe be like, this pen is the only one that I'm going to use to write, and like maybe write a poem every day or something like that. I don't know. Like Patti Smith's a big hero of mine. So like just something like poetry is so personal too, and it's something that like is so subjective. Like there's no right way of writing a poem. So you know, if you've got that as your starting point, then there's no way you can fail. So that, I guess, would be my kind of suggestion for something that's cheap and accessible to people.
See, what I would say to people is about photography. You know, we all have, you know, phones.
Yeah.
I've had that phone about 4 or 5 years. I'm getting tortured to upgrade. I don't need to upgrade.
Yeah.
Because I take great photographs with them. I've won competitions with this photograph.
Yeah.
With this. You know, and I say to people, there's all kinds of apps. There's Snapseed, and there's all these different apps you can put on your phone, and you can edit your phone. You can work with your phone, and you can think. I've won loads of competitions with this. I took an image of an old man in Warsaw, I called it Music Man. And people were blown away by this image. And I had 2 cameras with me. And I didn't even take the cameras out. I took it with a mobile
Your phone. Yeah.
And I posted it. And people from all over the world were commenting about this photograph of this man. And yeah, that's fantastic. What camera did you use? And how did you do it? How did you do it?
Yeah.
Phone. And then you think, well, I'm thinking I'm investing in a wee camera, buy a camera, buy a tripod.
Yeah.
Because you need a tripod if you're going to do landscape
Yeah,
stuff like that there. Now, there will be a moment where you'll see something quick and you have to take photographs.
Yeah.
That's good. But at the same time, a wee tripod. And if you're getting better, more out of it, going better out of it, then go and buy the deer golf clubs or go and buy the deer camera, or, you know.
Yeah.
It's probably musical instruments, you know. I have a good friend called Barry Kerr, and, you know, a genius, an absolute genius when it comes to music. Everything, you know, and he's playing guitars now. I think this company that make these guitars I think it's like £5,000 or something for a guitar. You know, I'm going, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know?
Start off simple.
But start off simple.
Yeah.
And then baby steps, take your steps.
Yeah.
You will make mistakes, but mistakes are lessons.
Yeah.
You know, it's not failure.
Yeah.
It's never failure. Because if you can say, step back and go, maybe I'll try it a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
At the Girls Rock, like Girls Rock
Yeah.
School, I'm also the director of, and the whole idea of that movement is that people come in as like total beginners, like
Yeah.
they don't have to have touched the instrument or, you know, at all, and that's what we preach all the time, is that there are no such things as mistakes.
Yeah.
And we often take like a survey at the start of it, and then we take a survey and we ask the same questions at the end after the 6 weeks or a week-long camp. And it's just the confidence and everything is just like exponentially bigger, and that's because they're in a space it's like constant affirmation, encouragement, and the distilling of the idea of like mistakes, or you're wrong, you're not doing it. So it is, so people just need to put themselves in that mindset and surround themselves with people
and create that environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love sitting in a session. See, when I see it, I'm looking at this, there's maybe 10 people with all these different instruments.
Yeah.
And I just go, I want to be you. I want to be in the middle end. You know, I'm enjoying the music, loving the atmosphere. But I want to be there.
Well, I think when we all get back to live music, that's going to be an active noticing that we'll never forget. Like, I was a moment in Kilkenny, I was down working on a job, and this was a Monday night in a pub, and we all, as a cast, went out for a drink. And it was just the most mind-blowing night of storytelling, poetry, music, you know, like a guy picking up a couple of different instruments, and it was just unbelievable. I don't think we'll ever take any of that for granted again. But
you said with the coffee, I mean, I'm not a big coffee person.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I don't come into the town much, things, but sometimes just sitting outside a wee cafe and watching the world go by.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And then maybe a wee spot and somebody, me running off, there's somebody with a camera, can I take a photograph?
Yeah. And not feeling guilty about taking that time in that moment. I think, you know, we're kind of very hard on ourselves, or hopefully we're not anymore through the lockdown, but giving ourselves that time, I really hope we don't go back to that pace of, you know, that we were all running at, a lot of us, that we can take that time.
That's what I laughed at. My mum's 84 years old, very creative woman, loves her animals, loves her flowers, loves, you know, everything, reads books. She was in the Irish News 3 times during lockdown. She was on the BBC weather. You know, she was not, they wouldn't come out to share dogs. Well, you're not coming out to share my dog. So she's sitting in the front garden. Lovely sunny day, sharing the dogs.
Brilliant.
I took a photograph of her. Mal McCann, is she still there? Mal works the Irish News. Mal came up, took a photograph. There she's in the Irish News thing. The 84-year-old woman sharing her dogs. And then the next thing, it was the week before the last clap, I got her this T-shirt, NHS, and Mal says, she still got the T-shirt. She said, well, I want to do the photograph for the last clap. And there's she standing in her front yard, clapping her hands. Yeah. And then there was a novena. There was no novena this year because of the lockdown. And she's sitting with her laptop. Mal came up, took a photograph of her. She's in the Irish News.
Brilliant.
Someone gave her these garden gnomes. So it is. She's decided to paint them. I took a photograph of her, put it on Twitter. Next thing, it's on the BBC weather. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think I would have noticed your mum actually lived in my street. John, I think
I
would have noticed all that.
Sunflowers growing up all around her. I came home the other night, you know, I look at her sometimes and go, oh, Mummy, you don't look well, you know, into myself. And then I come home and she's standing with her like the DOE yellow trousers on,
Yeah.
and her power wash in the front of the house, power wash the side of the house, and power wash the back of the house. I was
Brilliant.
tired looking at her. I was going, I need to go and sit down.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, it's young and old suffer from mental health. You know,
Yeah.
and what I call it, but there's things and ways of that we can deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thank you for sharing with me today. I really appreciate it. And I think what we've learned is that, you know, to keep it simple, tap into your creativity in whatever form that comes in. But just can we just end with one bit of advice if someone's listening now and watching now about taking notice? You know, what would you encourage them to do?
There's one thing that I have been doing and I find it helps me, and I think everyone can do it, and it's you just take, it doesn't even take 5 minutes, it can take a minute or 5 or 10, and it's a really simple meditation, and you sit and you just have your feet planted on the floor, you close your eyes and you think of 3 things that you can hear, you count those out, 3 things that you can feel around you, and then you just go through all the senses basically. And I find that really does help to center me and like center me, and it's so simple.
Yeah, and I can imagine if you were maybe feeling anxious or you just watch the news or you're stressed out, that could be a really simple and quick way to connect you,
and you can do it
back in.
There's a wee thing in yoga, I learned it. And you lie on the ground and you go from the tip of your toes and you go through your whole body.
Yeah.
You've done it, haven't you?
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because you're actually thinking about your knees and your ankles and your toes and parts of your skin that you would never even have thought about.
Yeah.
Well, hold on here. You know, it's like, hold on here. But I have a wee saying, and I said it to myself yesterday morning when I was standing on top of a sand dune in Murdoch Beach.
Yeah.
And I sort of put everything down and I just go, I am master of my life. I control my mind and body. I reject all forms of illness and disease. I am fearless. And that's my thing, you know, that be me. Just, I learned it from a man called Frank many years ago while I was doing yoga. And I've always done, and he came in to me one day, and a guy set up a picture stand in the Kennedy Centre for 4 days to promote positive mental health, and they're 7 years. We developed a calendar, and the calendar is beautiful images of here, but the back page has all the contact numbers for all the organisations. What's the one thing you're never going to throw out?
Yeah.
It's on a wall 365
5 days a year.
So people who are suffering from problems,
Yeah.
people are going, calendar. So people have used the calendar. You know,
Yeah.
someone has rung people and says, my wee lads, that thing. Go to the calendar. What do you mean the calendar? The numbers are on the
We're
wall.
all there.
So
Brilliant.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple. It's things like that, you know.
It's
Use
much
your-
simpler than we think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, John. Thank you, Sean, for taking the time. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Cheers.